Good morning, it's Kyle Coberline, a sales professional at Bluegrass International Trucks, Buses, RVs, and Ideal Lease. Today I'm going to do a walk around, a quick one on this one. It's a 2022 Renegade Verona 36 VSB. But before I get into going about the coach itself, I want to show you a couple of our service people and kind of why that's so important in today and having that support for the product and what we sell to our customers. Here's Donnie, he's one of our guys. He does it, he can do it all, right Donnie?
That's right.
Donnie, how long you been here?
18 years. 18 years.
You hear Darren inside the inside the coach there. But yeah, Donnie's been with us 18 years. We've got Darren here. He's one of our guys. He specializes in RVs, but man, he can do it all too as far as major engine work and whatnot. Darren, how long you been here? Darren he's been here 20. We got a lot of long-term employees. That goes to show a lot about the quality of our dealership and our atmosphere here. This also kind of shows he's fixing one of these. This is a brand new coach that came in. And there's a lot to these coaches. So you have to, we find stuff. I mean, there's, it's easy to miss things at the plant or, just a little nitpicky stuff here and there. But it goes to show that we catch, a shade that wasn't retracting all the way like it should. And so we're getting it adjusted for the customer before they take delivery today. I'm going to do a quick walk around on this unit. The exterior color is Ignite. As you can see, we've had this thing cleaned up for the customer. They're picking it up today. As we quickly walk around, you've got your side view camera right here. Oops, not in frame. Side view camera right there. You got straddled fuel tanks on the M2 chassis, so you got a 50-gallon tank on the passenger side. You've got your exterior TV. Rear bedroom slide that's in. Here's your rear cap. As you can see on the Renegades at the bottom, the rear cap is actually a separate piece from here down. That's so in case of rear end collision or damage, it's easy to replace versus the entire rear cap. 20,000-pound hitch. That's your tailpipe sticking out for your generator. They do it out the back so that when you got your slides open, there's no chance of exhaust coming up between your slides. That's your dryer vent up there. The larger tailpipe down here, that's for the main engine on the chassis. And then that's your tailpipe for your aqua hot system for the diesel burner. And then on the driver's side, you've got your other 50-gallon fuel tank on the other side, your block heater plug, and your DEF fill cap. And then of course your side view camera on the fender on this side. I'm going to go down through here and show you the storage boxes, mostly on the camp side of the coach. Your storage bays are going to be for storage so that when you need your chairs or tables or your little grill or whatever you decide to pack in there, you have easy access to it to where you'd be using it on the campsite of the coach. So this is the 36 VSB. So in the first bay, you've got your inverter and charger. It's a 3,000 watt pure sine wave inverter. In the back there, you can see your Jaboni solar charge controller. You can kind of hear it humming maybe over my lapel mic. That's because it's in charging mode. This thing can put off a little bit of heat, so it's okay to store stuff in here. You just don't want to put blankets or towels, filled up to the top of the bay, because you want there to be airflow in this box. So this is a good place to put a toolbox or something where air can move around. You can see there's a vent in the back of the box. A storage box right underneath your TV and sound bar. My phone was ringing, I'm sorry. So, yes, you got a TV. You got a storage box right below it. That's your air line that you can hook up to the air hookup on the behind the passenger door. I'll show that when we get over there. You've got an outlet in here. You've got a port down here where you can run a cord out if you need to power something. And of course, all your boxes are lit. The boxes at Renegade are custom built in-house, so they're steel boxes. They'll support a ton of weight. I could lay in here. There's a photo somewhere on the internet of me laying inside one of these boxes. And then the way they do their latches, it's dual point, so the doors don't rock. They're real stable. They close nice and tight. And where they're not just welded, so they're bolted, which that's nice because over time you can tighten these up as these gaskets compress to keep a nice tight door seal. Another storage box right in front of the rear tire. Within the last year, Renegade started extending the boxes up underneath the rail just to give you a little bit more depth. That works better, especially if you got any like the big, deep, comfy reclining chairs or maybe a little bit larger table. Gives you a little bit more storage options. Of course, your rear tire, it's a true commercial truck tire, Bridgestone. Same thing you'd find on a semi-truck or a medium-duty truck. I mean, this literally is a medium-duty chassis. The storage box right behind the rear tire. Once again, it extends underneath the rail for additional storage. Goes back pretty far. You can do a little bit farther storage box back here because the drive shaft is no longer here because we're behind that rear tire. And then you got a little storage box back here in the rear. This one's a little bit smaller than like some of the 40-foot models because this is a 4-foot shorter coach. We're now on the utilities side of the coach. So you've got your generator, your power hookup, and of course your wet bay that's got your water hookup and dump valves for sewer. In the rear bay here, we've got a 50 amp cord that's on an electric reel, so it retracts via a button versus having to pile it in there. And then you have an automatic transfer switch, which does have surge guard function, so you don't need any additional surge protection for your coach. Got an 8,000 watt QD generator, diesel. You can start the generator from out here, but it can completely be controlled inside through the Firefly system. Then here's your wet bay. You got your whole house water filter right here. You've got a low point, drain right there. And then you've got a spigot you can use. The blue line is just a water hose that coils up. The white tube is where your standard stinky slinky or sewer hose is. You got a black tank flush up here to flush down your tank from time to time. On the Renegades, the toilets are macerators, so everything that's going into the black tank is already ground down to a fine pulp. That makes it a lot easier to manage that tank and keep it from having buildup. You've got cable access out here as well if you're at a park or a campground that's got cable hookup. And then you got your gray and your black dump. And then you've got your reel in here for fresh water, which is also an electric retract as well. So that's super handy. And in front of that, you've got your gray and your black tanks. Now what's really nice on the Renegades is your gray and your black tank are 75 gallon a piece, and they're roller-molded plastic, but they're also inside of the coach. So if you look down here, this is technically like a bay. What makes it really nice is in colder climates or in wind, not only are these have pad heaters on them, but because of being in an enclosed environment, it kind of encases that heat. You don't have the wind chill factor of air blowing across your tanks, so it's a lot easier to keep them from freezing if necessary. For those that do like to do the snowbird stuff and go skiing and whatnot, I guess it's not snowbirds. Snowbirds are the ones that fly to Florida. So you're adventurous that like to ski and snowboard or snowmobile, these coaches can survive in colder climates. You just got to use some common sense. You've got a screw out hole here so that you can undo that so you don't drop any sewage and any residue that's in the pipe. It'll drop down on the ground like dribbles, nothing major. And then you've got a spot over here to actually run your sewer line out of the coach to hook up to your sewer to dump. On the Verona product, they utilize the AquaHot 250D system. That's a single zone heating system. That's also your hot water for washing dishes and taking a shower. You've got your coolant reservoir, which is right there, and then you've got a diesel fuel filter back there for the system as well. You know, some people can be hesitant about the aqua-hot systems sometimes. They're great, reliable systems. The trick to them is you have to service them every year to keep them reliable. It's not something where you just want to use it until it quits working or needs to be serviced. You know, have somebody check out the unit and service it every year, and it will be a reliable unit. In the bay, right behind the driver's door, you've got your chassis batteries, which are on the left. You can see those in black. And then this coach was ordered with a lithium package. These are the Dragonfly batteries. Same manufacturer that's doing the Battleborn batteries. They're made in the USA. The quality level is extremely high. I mean, these batteries are awesome. You'll get a much longer depth of charge out of them. And it is an option that costs a little more money. So if you want to use your generator less or be able to survive off of more battery, you know, the lithium is definitely a great option for those. And that's where I can come into play. You know, I can talk to you about where you want to go camp, what plans do you have, and see is lithium an option that really is suitable for you and worth that extra investment. Back up here in that far corner with that black cap on it right there, that's where you can tap into the chassis air supply. So you can use that with that hose to inflate some tires, or if you want to inflate some, you know, pool rafts or, you know, light duty stuff. I mean, you're not going to be able to run an impact off that. It's just not going to have enough CFM from the air compressor to keep up. We're looking under the hood here for several years now, because I've been in the trucking business for about 15 years. And a while back, a lot of the manufacturers thought, hey, we should make our reservoirs translucent so you can actually see what's in them. So your windshield wiper fluid, I mean, it's easy to see what you've got. Your coolant, it's easy to see what you got. Your air filter is toolless, so when, you know, and that has to be serviced. And even if you're paying somebody to do these services, it only makes it easier for them to do it and to be more effective with their time, because, you know, you're paying an hourly rate for any services that are being done. This is the Cummins L9. It's 360 horsepower, 1,150 foot-pounds of torque. This thing's got a lot of get up and go. It's a joy to drive. You've got a light up here which can be kicked on from the inside. There you go, you can see it now. So that you have a light out here in case you have an issue you want to check out and it's dark outside. We'll run over here to the other side real quick. So you got your power steering reservoir, which is translucent, and then you've got your fuel filter, which you can see. You know, if there was any water in this fuel filter, you would see it sitting down here in the bottom because it would separate from the diesel. And just super easy with the tilt forward hood in a commercial style vehicle. You know, you can easily inspect kind of like what's going on with your vehicle. If you see any lines that are damaged, or, you know, just something that looks out of the ordinary, or broken spring, which you should never experience any of that stuff. But the point is, it's really easy to, that's one of the biggest selling points on a Super C, is the serviceability and the easiness to get to everything. Anybody that's had a Class A, it's a pain in the rear to get to the motor and all the components in the rear. And a lot of times the tech has to work from inside of a bedroom, and, you know, they're greasy and dirty, and it's just difficult and takes them a lot more time, which you're paying an hourly rate in a lot of cases. The last thing I'll mention here on the outside is the Renegades that are on the M2 truck chassis come with the Freightliner Safety Assurance Package, which is their collision mitigation and adaptive cruise control. Boy, tongue twister. So you've got a radar in the front bumper, and you've got a camera up there in the windshield. And so originally, the original collision mitigation systems just had radar, but, you know, people would run into issues from time to time where, like, they'd be coming down a really steep grade, and there would be a bridge, and the radar would occasionally pick up on those bridges and cause, like, the brakes to tap. And that's in rare cases. Well, they integrated camera systems to combine the two technologies to have a much more accurate collision system, which functions awesome. And of course, you've got lane departure on this coach as well. What's so funny is when a lot of this stuff first started coming out, I got a good buddy of mine that he lives by a radar detector. Well, this is a radar. And so, you know, all his semi-trucks started getting these collision mitigation systems on them, and his radar detector was going off all the time, and he was like, I don't understand, like, I just feel like my radar detector is starting to go off a heck of a lot more in the last year. I said, yeah, because a lot of these semi-trucks you're passing are putting out a radar signal in the front of the truck. So if anybody's experienced that, there you go. So probably one of the biggest selling points on the Renegade product is the actual box and construction itself. It's not the glitz and the glamour and the bells and whistles and the furniture. It's literally the box. Because when you're driving down the road, it makes it a quieter ride. It's a lot more durable. It's truly a 30-year coach. You know, you can see right here, see if I can get my hand in the photo or video. That's the bottom of the floor, which top of the floor, if you go way up here, this is the top of the floor. It's about 9 inches in distance. So you've got channel steel in there, stacked 2x floors, 3/4 inch plywood, home grade insulation, which is a wool material. Wool has a high sound deadening quality, also great insulation quality as well. So you get a nice quiet ride inside of the coach. Many manufacturers, their floor is that thick. I mean, that's not unheard of. If not, you get into some, they might even be a little bit thinner. I mean, I think some get down to 3/4 inch. It's all it is a piece of wood that's got aluminum or a sheeting glued or stapled to the bottom of it, and a piece of linoleum on top of that. So you really are stepping up in the build quality and construction. This is a 2-inch vacuum bonded wall, aluminum tube structure, closed cell foam insulation. There's some other manufacturers that build their coach similar as far as like the wall construction, with the fiberglass on the outside and the Asdel on the inside and aluminum tube structure. But the difference is that fiberglass on the outside on some manufacturers may be like a sheet of paper, whereas the fiberglass on the outside of a Renegade is the thickness of a quarter, if not a little bit more. So, you know, you could easily use your words to say, oh, it's built the same way or method, but the quality or the durability of those materials is actually different. Just to kind of help understand. So, because there's some other products that are similar, but not of the quality level. And then the ceiling is built the same way. So on the Valencia, the Verona LE, and a few of the other products, there's nothing in the walls or the ceiling structurally that can rot from water. So if there ever was any water damage down the road from hitting something like a low tree branch or whatever it may be, it's not actually going to rot the walls. You just have to, it may stain a piece of wallpaper or a piece of cabinetry that can be cosmetically fixed, but you're not, you know, the structure itself is not being diminished. So I want to point out, right now all the slides are in, and that is an awesome feature of every single Renegade, is that the coach is extremely usable when the slides are in. I mean, there's plenty of room to walk down that hallway. So I'm standing next to the driver's seat right now. I can turn around, I can walk back here. You know, this unit was ordered with theater seats. This is the gray mist interior, by the way. You got Corian countertops, of course your sink, you've got your TV up here above the doorway. You've got your convection microwave, your entertainment center up here for your TV, you know, for your satellite box, gaming systems, Blu-ray player. And see, I can keep walking back through the hall. I mean, I'm not rubbing. I mean, I'm not turning sideways or anything. I'm just walking straight back. I can get to my bathroom. There's my macerator toilet, my shower. I've got a sink right here that I can get to. There I am in the mirror. Hello. So, I mean, and then, you know, I can't get to the other side of the bed, but I can still get to the bed. I could lay down here if I needed to. If I wanted to pull into a Pilot, I RV myself, so if I wanted to pull into a Pilot or a Cracker Barrel, I'm not a big Walmart fan. They're too busy. I literally was at a Walmart not too long ago in a small town, and it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and their locals were having a cornhole tournament. I'm not joking. So, not a big fan of Walmarts. I've now got the slides open. So what's really cool is you walk into the coach, you've got a nice place to store shoes and stuff underneath the steps. Believe it or not, that is a big deal. I'm always trying to figure out where the heck to put my shoes when I've been out in the dirt or rain for the day. On the left-hand side, you've got your master disconnect switch. The step overrides, so your step doesn't just go in and out every time you open and close the door when you're camped out. You got an E-start here so that you can tie your main chassis battery, and your coach batteries together to jumpstart either the generator or the main engine off of the, if one battery system's dead and the other one's not. Of course, your fire extinguisher right here to the left. Your manual leveling control, which you can also control the levelers from the Firefly system on the touch panel, the multiplex system. That's one of your radiant heaters right there for the aqua hot. It's basically a coolant system that cycles hot coolant through a hose, through different radiators, and then you got like little computer type fans blowing that air across. So much quieter than like a propane furnace if you've experienced that before. On the right hand side, you've got one of your multiplex touch panels. What's really nice about multiplex is you can turn lights on in the coach from multiple locations, or all on or all off. So I can come into the coach and hit all off. Turns every coach light off. I can go over here and I can hit all on. Same thing, turns all the lights on. And I can do the same thing from in bed. So if I got a light up here in the front that's on, I can turn all those off from up above my head versus walking through the coach and flipping off all these individual switches. And then there's an app that ties to all this as well that duplicates all the same systems. Of course, you got your driver. When they updated the seats within the last year or so, they've added those side and front bolsters, and the seats they're quite a bit nicer. Not that those seats are not nice, but it really helps be supportive, especially when you're the one driving. They have that support underneath your legs and to support your legs while you're driving. I know some people don't do a lot of far driving. It's nothing for me to do 700 miles in a day, so it's nice to be in a nice comfy seat. And then your passenger seat. Both are air ride. They do swivel around. Up here is your cab over bunk. There's an electric shade that comes down for the person that's sleeping up here. They've got their own TV and their curtain that comes across. This tray slides out, and then that bed flops over and you've got a ladder. They've got a charging port and an outlet up here. That windshield up there in the front, that is automotive grade glass. So that's the same strength as a normal windshield. So people who are worried about like it busting or cracking, you literally can throw a golf ball at those and it won't bust them. Don't try it. I've seen it done in a video, and I would never do that with a customer present. My luck, it would come back and nail him in the forehead. You got cabinet space underneath the sink. You got a place for a trash can. That is a common question from people. Everybody seems to be real concerned about where the trash can goes, which, I understand. That's one of those things too you just don't think about sometimes. It's like, where are you going to put your trash? This is all hardwood cabinetry. They're soft closed drawers. You got your true induction cooktop that does require special pots and pans. But induction cookware is backwards compatible, so you can use it on a normal stove or gas burner as well. Down here at the bottom, we've got our electrical panel. Right here on the right, you've got your number for your roadside assistance. That comes in handy from time to time. I recommend saving that number somewhere. I had a customer call me. They'd locked themselves out of their coach, which roadside assistance would have helped them, but the number was inside the coach, so that didn't do them a lot of good. And then you've got your breakers. Everything on the inverter output, so on this panel, all that can be fed by the inverter. So the refrigerator, the bath GFI, the microwave, the washer, right? That's all your stuff that not only is fed by the generator, it's fed by the shore power. It's also fed by the generator, or by the inverter. Of course, you got 12. You got your 12 volt. You got your 12 volt fuses up here for your 12 volt system. And then down at the bottom, you have your other set of circuit breakers, but these are only fed by your generator or shore power. These require too much energy for the inverter. course, your convection microwave. I'm trying my best. This customer's going to be here in about 20 minutes, so I'm trying to knock out this video before they take delivery. Up here's your entertainment center. So this unit was ordered with the option for the WineGuard Wi-Fi 2.0. So that's your WineGuard control panel. You've got a left button for power, which powers your antenna for over-the-air TV, and then the button on the right powers your Wi-Fi system, which requires a SIM card in that dome on the roof of the RV. It's all there on the roof because it has the best visibility and it's line of sight for like your cellular towers, just for best chance of reception and internet. This is your main control panel for the Firefly system. So you got your home, which has master light on and off. You got your fresh gray black tank heaters, water pump, house voltage, chassis voltage, generator stop and start. Whoops, go back to home. Generator start and stop with the amount of hours so you can check for service. Your auto gen start enable, and of course your satellite for in-motion TV. And then you've got your AquaHot diesel and electric. So you have to tell the AquaHot system that it is yes allowed to run on electric and yes it's allowed to run on diesel. Diesel is a lot more effective and it sips diesel. So if you're trying to take a shower or do a lot of heat your coach or trying to wash a lot of dishes, I wouldn't hesitate to use diesel just because it's going to function a lot better. Electric is also good to kind of use like a preheat just to keep the system kind of already warm and ready, especially if you're hooked up to shore power at an RV resort or a campground. So the coach has got temperature sensors in the front and the rear, which are those little black dots on the wall. I'll show one of them. And then you've got the temperature in the bay as well, because the bay is actually heated as well. Here's all your light controls. These if you hold them down, do dim lights back and forth. Here's all your electrical stuff, which is really neat. It shows your line 1 and your line 2 coming in, the voltage, the amperage, and then the hertz. It shows right here that power source is 50 amp auto shore. The one thing to keep in mind is if you use a step down to a 30 amp or like a 15 amp, just to be able to keep your batteries charged and maybe like run your refrigerator, but you're not going to be able to run like an air conditioner off of that, it'll automatically go into it'll default to 15 amp because the system has no way to know if because it only sees one line being fed, because it's on your 50 amp, you've got 2 lines of 120 coming in. On 30 and 15, you've only got 1 line of 120 coming in. So, it'll assume that the 15 amps. So you're not going to be able to run an air conditioner and some other appliances. You have to manually tell it by clicking, yes, this is a 30 amp dog bone. And I do recommend using the dog bones that have the cord in between the 2 plugs. That it gives it less. It doesn't restrict it and give it as much resistance as some of the other short adapters. I've seen them overheat and melt. So when you feed the line 1, just keep in mind you're not always going to get power to like everything in the coach. Usually if you use a step down to 15 or 30 amp, the key circuits it's going to feed more than likely are going to be like your refrigerator and your charging, because those are the key things you want to keep running at a minimal. And then at 30 amp, you may be able to run 1 AC unit. If you go into the AGS, this is where you can set your triggers for automatic gen start, which you have to enable. So right now the triggers are set for low battery and HVAC load. You can set quiet time. So if you're in a national park like Yellowstone, generator hours are from 8 to 8, or generators can't be run from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. like I think it's Madison Campground. So you can set that so it automatically won't fire up. And then you can set minimum run time, because typically when you fire up a generator, you don't want to just fire it up to shut it down. You want to let it run and exercise for a while, and typically under a load. And then you got maximum run time and then generator retries. Generator does not know how much fuel is in the tank, and if it gets below a quarter tank of diesel, the generator won't pull fuel, because you don't want to get strained. You go out for a long hike in the Grand Canyon, or where you're on the beach in Florida. You don't want to come back to no fuel and you're stranded wherever your RV sits. We did that one. Here's all your climate controls. You've got your cool for your For your air conditioners on the roof, they're two 15,000 BTU air conditioners. Your AquaHot, AquaHot single zone, you can see you got dual zone for the cool, and then you've got, of course, fan speeds, high and low and auto, and then once again it repeats the AquaHot diesel, AquaHot electric, and you can go in the control bay, and you can also set the AquaHot for the control bay so your pipes and stuff don't freeze in the basement. Awesome feature. I have to hang a light bulb. I do the old light bulb trick down there when I get down in the low temperatures. I've done it down to like 7 degrees and keeps that bay with a 100-watt light bulb, keeps it to like 70 degrees. It's pretty neat how that works, but this is a lot easier. You just set the temperature and you're done. Slide controls, including your leveling system, and then you also have your awning control here as well, and the window shade. And then if you go into settings, obviously your time of day has to be correct for the quiet time on the auto gen start to work correctly. And then you've got, if you go here, most of it's like diagnostic, it's more for a service individual. But if you go to the mobile app, you can scan the QR code and there's your information to connect your phone to this system. Everything I've showed you in here duplicates in the app, and it is super easy to use. If anybody ever has questions about the Firefly system, you know, feel free to reach out to me and ask questions. You know, one thing that helps to understand is this is the brain. This is what sends this, and there's another one back here that duplicates it, but this sends a signal to all the 12-volt systems to tell it what to do, turn on and off water pump, right? Well, back in the bathroom, there's a switch that says water pump. Well, that when you flip that switch on the water pump, in the bathroom, it sends a wireless signal to this and says turn the water pump on. So for some reason, if that switch has got, because some of them are 12-volt hardwired, some of them have batteries in them. So it's possible that over time, you may have one of them that has a battery in it, then it needs to be replaced. Like, so if your button's not working, it means that that signal is not going to here. Now, if the water pump's not working at this point, you're probably looking at a loose wire or some other connection issue that needs to be diagnosed. I'm not saying you're going to have a lot of those issues, but it's a way to kind of understand how the system works. And so that you can kind of self-diagnose when you're traveling and make life a little easier. We'll go across the top here real quick. You got tons of storage above your either your couch or your theater seating and your dinette. This dinette table does slide down. When you are sliding the table down, I've recently realized, common sense here, not to push down on the edge to push it down, because it puts kind of a torsion on it at an angle and it doesn't like to slide as easy. But if you reach over and put your hand in the middle of the table and push down once you've released the lever underneath, it'll nicely slide straight down and not put any unnecessary pressure on the table or any of the points where it slides and those mechanisms. Up top here, you'll see a cushion. That's to turn this into a bed. It's the short little cushion that goes on the back. And then the drawers underneath of the dinette have the two larger cushions. You know, this is roughly 5 foot by 3 foot. So obviously a smaller person, I wouldn't put your 6'4" uncle on this by any means, unless you pay back for something he did to you. But if you don't plan on using it as a bed ever, I would leave those cushions at home, and you can use those drawers for storage. These windows at the end of the slides go up, obviously, because if they went out and you forgot and pulled the slides in, you rip a window off. So those go up and down, but all your other windows tilt out, which is super nice just by turning these knobs. And that way, if it rains a little, you're staying dry in the coach, but you can still let fresh air in. You got day-night shades. Oops. There we go. I don't know why I couldn't get the lock in. There we go. It'd help if I knew what I was doing. But yeah, so you got day-night shades that come up and down. And you got those throughout the entire coach. You've got a pantry right here next to the fridge. You got these drawers that come out. They're soft close as well. This is a Samsung refrigerator or freezer. It has transit locks on it, so when you're driving down the road. And then back there in that far corner, hopefully we can see, there's a little valve back there. That's the water shut off for the ice maker, just so you know where that's at. Handles are up top. So this is a residential refrigerator. The big advantage to the residential refrigerator, one, down the road, you can get a latest and greatest standard size refrigerator to replace it. They're a little cheaper than your dual fuels. We can do all that today with residential refrigerators because they're a lot more efficient than what the old refrigerators were. And then where you don't have the dual fuel system in it, you got more space. Those fuel systems for propane, they're bulky in the back of the fridge, so you would lose a substantial amount of space for storage in your fridge. And if you ever have an issue with this, you can hire the same repairman that comes to your house to work on your fridge to come work on the fridge in your RV. When you start talking about dual fuel refrigerators, most RV shops, if it's not working, will quote you completely replacing it because they don't have anybody certified to work on a propane refrigerator. Those guys are hard to come by. We'll look down here in the... Oh, we got a little bit of ice. We test everything when we go to deliver these coaches to customers. You can see where it pushed a little bit of antifreeze out. They got a little bit of a pink hue to them. One thing I forgot to mention too on these windows is as of middle last year, I believe, the windows are dual pane. That does help with some thermal properties as far as, you know, temperature. But the biggest thing you're going to notice and benefit is going to be the sound. It does cut down on quite a bit of the sound coming into the coach. So if you had to stop at a Cracker Barrel or a Walmart or any other place for the night or a Pilot, you know, it's going to be a little quieter in the coach. Or if you had I've been in a few RV parks or places where, you know, I planned on staying, didn't realize the interstate was just on the other side of the hill. So it will be quieter in the coach. Here's one of those temperature sensors in the coach that feeds to the Firefly system for the HVAC unit. So Renegade comes standard with washer and dryer prep on their units. So even if you don't order the option for a washer and dryer, it can still be added later. You've got all the hookups there. It is a washer and dryer stack. It's not an all-in-one unit. You know, the washer and the dryer, you're not going to do massive loads of laundry like you do at home, but when it comes to your tighty-whities and your socks and your whites and some t-shirts, these things work great. I know a lady that travels with 3 kids and her husband, and they wash all kinds of socks, underwear, and t-shirts, and it works out great. And they even do it when they're traveling. I joke with her, you know, do they come out cleaner from the extra agitation? Little RV humor. Here's your other Firefly panel. And the way those, so you got 2 Firefly panels which feed to the main control board, right? That sends the 12 volt to water pump lights and all that kind of stuff. So one of the issues Renegade had at one time, and they have resolved when they started implementing a lot of the new multiplex and control panels, is this control panel here. If you look over here, that's the refrigerator. No one ever thought to think that that refrigerator would cause interference for anything sending a digital signal from back there. So there was some workarounds and some insulation you could add to help with some interference. And so if you look at your touch panels up here by the front door, the one here at midship by the dinette, you know, those are going to send a signal to that main control panel. And then anything on the other side of the fridge, back here in the bathroom, you know, up above the bed there. Hope if I can find it in my camera. There you go. And the one right here by the door, by the sink, by your wardrobe, those are going to feed the panel that's right here, so that there's nothing causing interference or any intermittent issues. If you do get a warning sign in here, like say if one of these panels is not communicating to this, if it's not communicating, the error code that you're going to get is low battery. Because 9 times out of 10, that's the issue, is low battery if there's a connection issue. But that at least tells you that there is a connection issue between the two. We're not seeing a lot of that. We used to see a lot of that on just a handful of coaches, depending on the floor plan, you know, that where we were getting intermittent transmission issues because of interference between the refrigerator. But that is well resolved at this point. So from probably 2021 and forward. You got a cabinet down here below the sink. That's one of your radiators for the AquaHot system down there. You've got a drawer here. These are all real cabinets, nothing that's faux. You got an outlet back here. You've got a medicine cabinet up here, which has got tons of space in it for all kinds of stuff. You've got a fan up here. By the way, on those fans, which can control from the Firefly system, if your coach has got a lot of heat in it or very hot, that is the best way to pull the heat out of your coach instead of cranking your air conditioners all the way down. Use that, open a door or window, pull the main of the heat out, then turn your air on, and it won't have to work near as hard. Of course, your macerator toilet. You've got controls here for eco, normal, and empty. Eco would be number 1. Normal, they'd be taken to number 2. Empty is if you're driving down the road and you don't want any water in the tank. So the way the macerators work is it grinds everything down, sends it to the black tank. So the actual hose coming off of that toilet going to the black tank is about the size of, maybe a little bigger than a water hose. So it's not, because it's getting ground down and pumped to that tank. Really nice thing about that, you don't get, it's not just an open pipe into a big black tank, so you don't get the odors and issues you do with some of the other toilet designs. Super awesome. Don't put Legos and Hot Wheels down them. Bad idea. On your shower, Renegade added this bar, so you can adjust the height of the shower. It's got a quick on and off if you're trying to conserve water, but you do have 150 gallons of water, which is crazy. You got another fan in here in the bathroom for pulling out moisture. Another thing they added a few years ago is below the shower, they've got this port you can take off. So I would definitely annually inspect underneath your shower. It drives down the road, bumpy roads. I mean, if you're real adventurous, you just never know. Like the UP of Michigan, you pictured rocks. If you ever decide to drive up in that area, the roads are washboardy. So it's a good idea to pull this off and just make sure, you know, little flashlight, you don't see any water, or have your unit serviced. Have somebody inspect the roof once a year. You know, have them look underneath your shower and just make sure everything's in good working order before you get on all your trips for the year. So we're in here in the bedroom. This is a mini king, so it's 4 inches shorter than your standard king. You've got cabinetry above the bed. You've got a touch panel up there, which you can use to turn all your lights off, fire the generator up. Of course, once again, all can be done from your phone as well. Some people don't like using the phone. One thing about the app is it can only be attached to one phone at a time. So if it's on the wife's phone and you're the husband in the bed, you use the button above you. Still very convenient. Of course, your emergency exit, that is on a hinge and just swings out. Your TV up here above the window. You've got a wardrobe here. This is really neat because this will come out. So if you got like long dresses, suits, or business attire that you need to hang longer, you can pull that out and hang your clothes down longer, or dresses. If not, you've also can hang stuff down here. You've got a bar as well. Your entertainment system over here. You got drawers below that. Got a storage bay there. You got a wardrobe on this side. You got a bunch of drawers going down that way. You got a sweet mirror in the bedroom. The mirror was awesome addition because it just kind of opens up the room more and kind of makes it feel a little bit larger. Right now I'm underneath the bed, so that's what one of the Aqua Hot radiators looks like. 2 little computer fans. You got your coolant, a hot coolant going through it, and then the air being blown across it and pushing the heat outside. Super awesome, neat, simple. I mean, radiator type heating has been around a long time, and this is what would be like in a school bus and in some of your older homes, something similar with a boiler. That's your water pump right there. We check all that stuff as far as the pressure and stuff when we do the PDI before delivery. That's your main dump down there to dump your freshwater tanks onto the ground. You've got an overflow, of course. It's 2 75-gallon roto-molded tanks, so 150 gallons. They do it in 2 tanks so that you don't have as much slosh going from front to back like in a heavy break or starting up a hill. You don't have 600 pounds of water moving from one side of the tank to the other, so they break it up. Same way they do like fuel trucks and milk trucks. I mean, they're baffled inside so that you don't get that slosh, because you imagine a fuel truck slamming its brake, it would scoot the thing forward if it didn't have baffles in it. This clear hose here is so that you can hook up to antifreeze, and you literally just divert it on the valve there, and the water pump will literally pump the antifreeze out of a bucket sitting out here on the floor, and you can easily winterize your system from inside the coach, which is pretty neat. The rolled molded tank, just so, because I'm not a big fan of using a lot of big terms, because you have no idea what that means. So rolled molded tanks is where they put plastic in a mold, and it's bead and it's spun, and it creates a fiber plastic that is not like got any seams to it, so a place for it to split. They build whitewater kayaks the same way, so that when they hit rocks or come off of a small waterfall and hit hard, that they don't bust at a seam. It's one continuous piece of plastic that the fibers kind of cross back and forth. So super neat process on how they make rolled and molded tanks. And then you've got a bar up here to prop this open, so if you need to work underneath here. And of course, with the water being inside the coach, as long as the coach is heated, you don't have to worry about your fresh water freezing. We're going to look at the dash real quick up front here. So you'll notice you got a yellow engine light, a red stop engine light, and another check light on the engine. And then you've got exhaust light up here. You got exhaust with a thermometer, and then one with a puff of smoke. And then the other important light on here is definitely the intake heater. So the intake heater light, when you go to start your diesel engine, you just don't put the key in and turn it over. What you want to do is you want to turn the key over to the on position, let all the gauges swipe back and forth, you'll hear like brake stuff clicking and clacking, and camshaft position and all that stuff doing its thing, making sure everything is correct on the system. And then if it's cold outside, that intake heater light will stay on. The jacks are down, that's why it's beeping. That intake heater will stay on because it is actually has a grid heater in the air intake that's heating that air, so that when you go to start it, it's pulling hot air into the motor and will start a lot easier than if you just try to suck ice cold air into the motor. And if it's like pushing like single digits and 0, it doesn't hurt to actually turn the key on, turn it off. The grid heater light will go off, don't start it, turn it back off, turn it back on, and let it go through that whole cycle again to get that air just that much warmer, and the engine will start just that much easier, not have to crank as much to get started. If you're going to be down to single digits and 0, and you're going to be needing to start your coach, may not be a bad idea to utilize the block heater outside, which keeps the oil pan warm, and of course it'll start no problem at that point. But engines today don't typically struggle a ton to start in colder weather like they used to. Just kind of use some common knowledge, or you'll learn quickly kind of what you need to do. So the yellow check light, there's fault codes. There's thousands of fault codes associated with different issues with the coach. And of course, the electrical systems today are very complicated. There's tons of sensors, just like your smartphone. Sometimes things glitch, freeze up. Weather conditions, region, there's a lot of variables that could cause a trigger a fault code. What people don't realize sometimes is fault codes have the ability to self-heal. So if a yellow engine light, check light comes on, it could be just, it's a informative code saying, hey, we've noticed something, but it's something that could potentially go away. No different than a traction light. If you skid out of control, or you skid some on ice or snow, your traction light's going to come on. Well, it'll go away eventually after so many key cycles when it no longer sees that issue. Example with a coach I have is my wife had me building a greenhouse using some old galvanized metal, and I had it stacked up in the driveway, had my RV parked close to it, like up to it on the front end. Well, in the summertime, the sun was hitting that metal, reflecting up underneath of my coach and causing an over temperature sensor to go off. And I was like, what in the world's going on? And then when I looked up the code and saw that's what it was, and I was trying to wonder what that deal is. And then it kind of dawned on me. I was like, I wonder if that metal is, and so I tested the theory, and sure enough, it did it all over again. And then ever since I quit, moved the metal and all that, never came back. So those codes, like when a yellow light comes on, that's informative. Be cautious. If you don't see, hear, or feel any difference in driving the coach, keep on trucking. If it stays on for a long time and you get back from a trip and it's still on, have a dealer look at it. But it's very possible that it could go away, and you would just be wasting your time and energy and money going to a dealer for them to track something down that's no longer an issue. Because really, in my case, there's nothing wrong with the vehicle. It's just it triggered a fault because of a certain scenario. Now, the other yellow engine light that doesn't say check is a malfunction in the emission system. Same scenario. The federal government just requires us to have that. It's just part of the emission standards and federal government requirements that there be a light to show a fault in a malfunction. You know, it has to look like an engine, has to show a fault in the emission system. Treat it just like the other yellow engine light. The important light to notice, and what we'll do here, is that red stop engine. That light comes on, you pull over and you stop as soon as it is safe. A perfect example of a red stop engine, you blow a radiator hose, your engine dumps all its coolant, that motor will blow up. So only codes that are associated to catastrophic engine failure are tied to that light. And so obviously safety first, but that is a serious light, possibly will derate your motor and slow you down. And if it is safe, I would pull over, get off the road as fast as possible and get towed to a shop. In a case like blowing a radiator hose, there's a lane departure system checking everything. As far as the radiator hose, that's a simple fix that could cause thousands upon thousands of dollars in damage. So over here to the left of the steering wheel, we've got our speed control on and off. Here is our set, coast, resume, excel, marker lights, headlights. This increase, decrease button is for the brightness of the gauge cluster. Over here to the left, you've got your fog lamp, which you got fog lamps on the front and the bumper. You got your spot lamp, which that's that spot lamp that's underneath the hood to light up the engine compartment. And then you've got your locking differential in the rear. Locking differential, that is for slow speeds only. So if you're trying to get out of you've gone to an event somewhere and you're parked in soft grass or dirt or maybe a little bit of soft ground or mud, try to avoid that if you can. These rigs are heavy and they will sink. But if you do have locking differential where it locks both wheel hubs together to spin together, but that is a low speed tool to use, not for on the highway low speeds. Of course, your shifter for the Allison transmission, it is electronic, so it sends electronic signal to the shifter to shift. And what I definitely recommend is, to deter issues, is anytime you're shifting from drive, reverse, or vice versa, always shift to neutral in between. It is an electronic shifter, so shifting the transmission from drive to neutral to reverse, transmission likes that a lot better than bouncing directly from drive to reverse. Of course, you've got your power windows, your engine brake, so engine brake on and off, and this is your engine brake state, high and low. Another thing I should have mentioned, I see this on the forums and Facebook groups all the time about the performance versus economy mode. On Verona and Verona LE, the transmission is standard performance. On Valencia, it is standard economy. The difference between performance and economy mode, so if I hit this mode button and put the transmission in mode, that puts it into economy mode. That bumps the shift point up 200 RPM so that it'll shift 200 RPM sooner, which means you're building less horsepower, but you're getting into top gear faster, which the rule of thumb is the faster you can get into top gear and hold top gear, the less fuel you'll burn. I had a friend of mine that is retired from the school system here in Kentucky deliver an RV for me to outside of Dallas, Texas. And I said, I want you to burn a whole tank in economy, and I want you to burn a whole tank in performance. This was a couple years ago, and he saw about a 0.2 of a mile difference per gallon. A guy driving a semi-truck 120,000 miles a year, he'll see a little bit of money in his pocket. You guys RVing, I'd probably leave it in performance mode and have a good old time. Of course, your HVAC controls down here. You've got your lane departure, disable, door locks, heated mirrors. The newer coaches now have the suspension dump. If you're, when you go to level, the coach will level easier if you dump the suspension first. Basically bringing the rear end down closer to the level with the front, and that way the jacks don't have to extend as far to level. And you got an option switch here, which just comes standard in the dash. On a Verona, I do not believe that is wired to anything. You got your TPS system for tire pressure monitoring. Gives you pressures and temperatures. That's your Freightliner safety assurance. The WABCO, not only your adaptive cruise control. You don't have to do anything. That's just a control panel if you want to turn stuff on or off and adjust some things. But really, you don't touch that. That's just your display that shows you kind of what's going on. But that's your collision mitigation, adaptive cruise control. And then you've got your hookup for your radio here. USB 3.5, power outlet, cigarette adapter. Yep, still got the old ashtray. There's some companies that make some really cool like consoles and stuff that go in here that fit this exact cab, you know, for cup holders and stuff here right next to your leg. If that's what you would like, because it does make it a little harder to get out, but convenient while you're driving. Of course, your parking brake. Commercial truck, so this is a 3000 series Allison transmission, which is for RV application. It's the same as a 3000 RDS, or I'm sorry, 3000 highway series transmission, but they give it the RV nomenclature, and it's more or less for warranty purposes. This is how they label it so they know what the warranty period is on it at the dealer level. Of course, your Garmin unit, which has got your navigation, your radio controls, and all that kind of stuff. Super cool. It comes off. So you can take this off, you can hold it in the passenger seat and use it. You don't have to lean over the dash the whole time. Ooh, I forgot about one of the coolest features. My son loves this one. The air horn. I'd pull it right now, but the parts guys would kill me. They might come in here and tackle me and throw me out. But I hope, if anybody ever has, I've been selling commercial trucks for a long time. I've been here through several emission cycles. You know, if you've got questions about lights and stuff like that one exhaust light that comes on with the thermometer looking symbol, you know, that is that's just telling you that, you know, your vehicle went into an automatic regen while you were traveling. You've decided to pull off at an exit to get fuel, bite to eat. Once you get below a certain speed, you know, that exhaust system can be pumping out 900, 1,000 degrees, 900 or like rough to 1,000 degrees, not 900,000 degrees. And it's just telling you to be cautious about where you park, so you don't pull in and park over dry grass or something that could potentially be combustible. So it's just something to be kind of cautious. Not a big deal. Don't worry about it. You know, that muffler back there is designed to dissipate heat really well. So I mean, you'll be fine. But I just know what's going on back there. There's diesel engines love nothing more than to work hard. RVs are perfect. You go out on the highway, for the most part you're driving them longer distances. The unit is always heavy. You're not bobtailing a tractor where you don't have a trailer. You're not hauling a box truck that's empty half the time, you know, where it's a light load. Like this thing weighs 30,000+ pounds all the time. Diesel engines love it. They burn clean, they burn hot, they burn efficient when they're working. So as far as emissions, you shouldn't have a lot of issues. And, you know, like where we see a lot of emissions issues with diesel engines are school buses and aerial trucks, because school buses tootle around town with children and never get up to really any speeds. They're not loaded a lot of the time because school buses are pretty light when they have no children on board. And then aerial trucks that go out here and work on your power lines, you know, they're running that diesel engine all day at idle to run hydraulics so that they can raise that bucket up and down. And that's terrible on the motors. Whereas an RV, you're working it and it loves it. Don't think you're hurting the motor when you're working it up and down a mountain, or that's what it was built and designed to do. So feel good about using your motor and making it work. Well, once again, my name is Kyle Coberline. I'm a sales professional for Truck and RV at Bluegrass International Trucks, Buses, RVs, and Ideal Lease. I can't express enough that I enjoy doing the RV business. I enjoy being in the truck business. I never just want to sell somebody an RV or a truck and go about my day. You know, I want to be part of the decision-making process. I want to be an asset as far as, you know, when you're working through what's best for you, especially when it comes to RVs and a lifelong investment and traveling and kind of what your plans are for the future. So I don't want anybody to ever feel pressured. I just want to be an asset. And at the end of the day, if I'm not the best solution for your needs, for whether it be a truck or an RV, I appreciate the opportunity to work with you, learn a few things from you, learn a few things from me. And if anything, we'll be happy to service, provide parts for anything that you might need. So we understand. I mean, I understand, and we do what we can to help and service the customer over just focusing on trying to make that sale. I do have a personal blog that has a lot of good information, which is at rigdigging.com. I put some information there for RV customers, truck customers, and I got some customer testimonials that back up my story. But I really appreciate you checking out my video, and if you need anything or ever have questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me.